have the greatest job in the world, and that's working with dogs.
Best in Show winner is the French Bulldog.
Winston won the National Dog Show. It was amazing. It was exciting. And to have a dog to be #1 dog in this country, you have to have great nutrition. And I always fed Pro Plan. Just like us, when we eat well, we feel good. And I just love that food and what it's done all these years to all the dogs I've bred and all the dogs I've shown.
Welcome to Pure Dog Talk. I am your host, Laura Reeves, and this is a listener request, so I'm very excited. Today, we're going to talk to Ashley Nixon, and she is a specialist in canine sports therapy and conditioning coach and all kinds of fun stuff that we are going to learn about. And, you know, the requester, the friend of mine that suggested Ashley, said, we talk so much about conformation and structure is important and food's important and all that, but the conditioning piece is equally important. And I don't think we talk about that enough. So welcome, Ashley. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I am okay. We're going to go with okay. So Ashley, tell me about, you have Petit Passé Griffon Vendéen, yes?
I do. I have 2 of them.
Nice. And how did you get started with your Peebuts? And you run agility? Is that right?
Yeah, we do agility. We do nose work. We do some dock diving.
Nice. Dock diving with a PBGV. Love that. That is cool.
Yeah, so I started with them when I was a kid. That was the breed my mom let me have, so that's what we went with.
Well, there you go. And you said it's the only one you haven't wanted anything else. You're good with Peebuts. You like how they work, which is interesting. Tell me about, sorry, just a little segue. Doing performance stuff with PBGV seems like you are setting yourself up for a challenge.
Definitely.
Okay.
Not always pretty,
Yeah.
but definitely always fun.
Yeah.
You have to be very willing to laugh.
That, yeah, clumbers. I have good friends that do clumbers and obedience, and, they're like, we're not here to go high in trial, man.
Just here for fun.
Yeah, having a good time. But you know what? Having a good time with your dog is a really worthy goal. So good on you. And what brought you to this particular job that you do with conditioning and therapy and aquatics and all kinds of stuff that you're working with for the sports dogs?
I actually started out in horses after vet school. So we did a ton with like race horses, performance horses. And then I broke my hand in 5 places, and this was slightly safer.
Yes, horses can be ouchy. And so let's talk conditioning. Give us like your 5 best tips or your 3 best tips, right? How do you get your dog fit, whether it's for the show ring, agility, dock diving? There's lots of different conditioning things, and so many of us just trot our dog besides a bicycle. Okay, that's like pretty normal dog show. Like, yep, got it, nailed it. I'm on a treadmill, but it feels like there's more, right?
Yeah, cardio is good for everybody, but I think it's really important to consider the sport you're doing and what you're asking your dog to do. Where you're conditioning, where they can be cardiovascularly fit, but they don't have abs. Maybe they don't have the propulsion to do some dock diving or agility.
Right.
So I think it's super important to kind of keep that in mind and not just say, hey, I walk my dog, we go for a run, we're fit,
we're good. That's awesome. Okay, so give us some exercises. What am I going to do with my dog?
I like a ton of stuff you can actually do at home with basic equipment. You can have them do some push-ups on an unstable surface, like a little exercise ball you're bracing. You can have them pivot is great. Front end up, back end up. I love sit to stands for these guys, and you can do a ton of different variations.
Okay.
You can have them do it on a mattress. If you have like an air mattress, fit bones are great. Cavalettis are great for these guys. You can especially pick up some changes in their gait, or change their gait.
Yes, I can speak to changing the gait. That's Cavalettis to me. Talk through your just like you're talking to a fifth grader. Talk us through your serious. Come on, because some of these people don't know what we're talking about. So Cavaletti pulls to me saved a dog's career. Like I made a number one dog out of a dog that didn't actually know what to do with his legs by using. No, I'm not kidding. No clue. By using Cavaletti pulls. So talk us through your suggestion on that. You're the professional.
Yeah, so you obviously don't want them to jump over it.
Right.
You want a nice stride length or two between poles. And you
And
can adjust.
what's your trick for measuring stride length? I know what I was told, but I want to hear from a regular smart person.
Roughly height to shoulder and adjust to there.
Yeah, that's basically start with half the height at the shoulder to get them used to it, and then increase it. Right.
Yep.
Perfect. And then now I started mine walking on a leash because it was for a show dog. Is that your recommendation as well?
Yeah, I mean, it depends how your dog is trained. Like one of mine grew up doing fitness stuff. I got him when he was 7 months old and he lived in a rehab hospital basically.
Sure.
So I can send him through and he's not a problem. Our other one we did on a leash.
Yeah. Yeah.
To kind of get them to know what they're supposed to do.
Right. And mine took him a minute, and I had a specific training process, right? So we stop, we think, then we walk.
Yeah.
And I also like
take a minute.
Take a minute. Think about this. We know what we're doing here. I also liked it because I had him on a sidewalk that was against the wall of a building. And so it forced him into a straight line, which was another issue he was having. Any other tips like that?
They're super versatile. You can, if you want some flexion, you can have serpentines over the cavalettis and arrange them in, semicircles, get some nice spinal flexion.
I like that. Okay, what else?
Height, in general, not higher than hawk height for anybody.
Yes.
But you can kind of play with it if they need to think about where their toes are a little bit more, if you need some flexion.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the thing with him. I used the bigger PVC pipe.
Yeah.
Right? The big round, because it was a big dog. And I put it, my partner, God love him, made little stands for them. It was adorable. But you don't have to be that complicated, right?
No, you can pull noodles, you can anchor them, you can use basically anything.
Yeah. Brooms. I've seen people use broomsticks, like just lay the brooms in a line.
Broomsticks, 2x4s.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about other, like core strengthening, I think is something that too many show dogs don't have and too many athletes don't have. Talk to me about your favorite. I know what I like, but tell me what you like for just really getting the top line to hold together. It's kind of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love these guys on unstable surfaces. Like a half inflated giant fit bone is what I use for my guys.
Oh, interesting.
Super easy. We can do it at home when I'm very tired after work. They can stand on it, they can sit on it. And the unstable surface makes them engage their core a lot more.
Oh, okay. Do you use those, what do they call them? Like wobble board things? That's got like a ball.
We do those.
That's my favorite. I teach my puppies start on those. Like baby puppies have one of those on the deck that they learn, that they think that's really cool. So I assume that's something you use, yeah?
Yeah. Those are great. Rocker boards are great too. Pretty versatile. We'll usually brace ours a lot with an inflatable tube under the wobble board so it can't slam.
Okay.
If it's small enough, if it's for a big dog, we are the brace.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it's part socializing too. Like I want them to hear the slamming. Like that's the whole point of the exercise, is for it to make a lot of noise. Okay. So, core strengthening, cardiovascular, setting your stride over cavalettis. What's one more good one? I always say sand. How do you feel about sand?
Depends how you're doing it.
Okay, good. Talk to me.
If you're not doing it right, we will probably see you for your cruciate tear.
Okay, good, good. So, what does doing
Uh,
it right mean to you?
we see a lot of people that just are, hey, we went to the sand, I threw a ball.
Okay, maybe not that way.
Yeah. Walking in sand is great.
Right.
You can jog in sand once they've had a warm up.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Um,
that. It's like everything, it's how you do it.
Talk me through because I find this to be something so frustrating, and I even was guilty of it from time to time. Forgetting to warm your dog up before you do whatever the thing is, right? So whether it's trotting around the ring or flying over the jumps or looking for a mouse or a rat or whatever it is, right? Like that's the just going in cold is a recipe for disaster.
Keeps me in business.
Job security is what you call that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Nice.
You should be doing it right up to when you go in the ring.
Okay.
Literally minute before.
Okay.
Um, Minimum of 5 minutes. Ideal is kind of roughly 15.
Hmm.
We've actually extrapolated from people, and we're thinking that stretching isn't actually the most helpful.
Oh, really?
In people, it actually led to more injuries, and decreased your muscle strength. Um, yeah, so we're leaning more towards like more active exercises, walking.
Hmm.
You can do some sit to stand, some figure eights, trotting in a figure eight,
Hmm.
more that kind of stuff versus just, hey, I stretched my dog, we're good to go.
Well, and I think the two things that are interesting to me that you just said is continue to do it. Don't just like warm them up in the morning and think you're done, which would be my bad habit. And the other one is, and again, I had horses as well as dogs, so I lunged my dogs. Like I'd put
Yeah.
them on a flexi lead, and they would lunge, and that was my warm up. Um, but your suggestion is I needed to do that closer to the time they were in the ring rather than just early in the day.
Yeah, especially if they're, going back in a kennel, sitting on a
Mhm,
couch in
mhm,
between,
mhm,
just sitting essentially.
mhm.
They are no longer warmed up.
Okay, 100% valid. So that's what assistants are for, y'all.
Yeah.
That means we need more assistants, is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so walk them up and down, do some figure eights, do some push ups. Anything else? Stretching, no, because I used to always do good, shoulder stretches,
Yeah.
stretch out the rear legs, and
We're leaning more towards having them do exercises that stretch themselves out, like getting
uh,
them to do a bow,
oh,
and really stretch out their arms, get
sure,
them to do some backups.
sure, okay, very cool. So then the meat and potatoes of your business, how do you how do you fix them once we broke it?
um, Really depends what is wrong with them. So
Mhm,
one of the things that we do that kind of sets everybody up for success is look at what they're supposed to be doing
mhm,
when they're done.
mhm, mhm,
And then just kind of see how they're actually compensating for themselves. Like some dogs after an ACL tear, they're doing great. They had surgery. They're actually not compensating too bad because they had surgery 2 days later.
mhm.
Some of them come in and they've got a ton of back pain, and we need to do some massage, maybe some chiropractic. Um, we do a lot of underwater treadmill for these guys.
Okay, so I worked at a boarding kennel that had a pool, and they would swim with and stuff, and I loved that. But you like the treadmill in the water for this.
Depends what you're going for.
Mhm.
Like in general, based on the way they swim, in general, treadmill's going to be better for rear leg stuff.
Okay.
Um, Swimming's great more for like front legs, overall
Mhm,
conditioning.
mhm,
If you've got a dog with kind of generalized arthritis and you just want to
mm,
take some weight off,
mm,
and get them in the water and moving that way without
mhm.
anything slamming down on a joint.
Sure, sure. Right. Same for us, right? Like,
Yeah.
we, bad back. I swim, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a thing.
Trupanion is revolutionizing medical insurance for pets by providing the best possible experience to our members. And it's not some space age dream, it's happening now. We pay your veterinarian directly while you're checking out, and we're the only ones who can, which means you have decisions in seconds, and you don't have to wait for reimbursement. So, unlike with other providers, you'll keep more money in your pocket. Ask your veterinarian if Trupanion can pay them directly, because there's pet insurance, and then there's Trupanion.
I'm Laura Reeves, the host of Pure Dog Talk, and I'm coming today to talk to you about Brilliant Pad. And it is amazing and an incredible way for me to do my potty training with the puppies and not ever have to touch any yucky stuff. Brilliant Pad literally rolls the mess up and you never touch it. So I really wanted to talk to you guys about that, share with you the experience I had with it. It's like the most amazing thing you've ever seen. Do you have any particular injuries? I mean, obviously cruciates, but anything specific other than that that you see more often than not that you would caution listeners, like, don't do this because this will happen? I mean, this is your area of expertise.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot more shoulder injuries, especially in the agility dogs, even than when I first started practicing. And I think it's a lot of people aren't doing some sport specific conditioning. Like we'll get a lot of agility dogs coming in. They're like, yeah, they do agility. We go for a few walks a week. And you go to palpate them and there is no shoulders.
Mm, mm. So, what's your favorite shoulder development for our agility people? Or, I mean, field trial dogs, we rode them on a four-wheeler, right? Like, I mean, there's things that
Yeah.
we do in each of the sports, but what's a good agility suggestion for that?
Honestly, if you have access to a pool, it's
Yes.
great.
Okay.
Because a lot of these dogs are already jumping and doing so much wear and tear on their joints. It's a
Mhm.
nice way to get them fit without doing more of that.
Okay.
Super helpful. Cavalettis are actually pretty helpful.
Oh, okay. For developing the front muscle.
Yep.
Okay. Good. I thought it was just for a big clumsy dog that didn't know where his feet went.
Nope. It's good for everything.
Love me some cavalettis.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's very cool. And then what types of, I mean, other than TPLOs and that kind of stuff, what are you seeing that you're able to fix surgically? What are we talking about in that department?
We get a ton. Thankfully, we're in an area where we've got a lot of specialists, so we see a lot of back surgeries.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, the dachshunds are rolling in.
Mm, mm,
All those guys come in. We get all the orthopedic stuff.
mm,
Occasionally we'll get like an Achilles tendon
mm.
that went to surgery.
Interesting. Versus cruciate. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You see,
Mm.
and what's going to cause an Achilles to go?
Most of the dogs that I see it in, they're just under conditioned for what they do.
Okay.
So they have a long time of putting stresses on the wrong places.
Okay.
And then we see them.
That job security part again.
Yeah.
Got it. And so obviously weight matters, muscle condition matters.
Yeah.
How do you teach your patients, owners, your clients, how do you teach them about what appropriate muscle actually looks like or feels like in their dog?
Um, a- we go over weight first, obviously. A lot of our patients, unfortunately, can barely feel the muscle.
Find me a muscle, find me a rib.
Yeah.
Come on, find me a rib. I know.
It should feel nice and squishy, and like sometimes I'll have them feel their palm of their hand.
Mhm.
Hey, does it feel like that? If not, you got some work to do.
Right. Right. Shouldn't feel, what is it Marty always says? Shouldn't feel your knuckles, but I like that. The heel of the hand. And then other than concerns about obviously doing too much before they're ready, do you have a process that when you're working with clients to get them back in condition? Do you start with 2 minutes of this and 3 minutes of that? Or how do you work dogs back from an injury or into condition when they aren't?
I usually start with, if they're doing stuff in the clinic, we can keep an eye on it better. If they're coming from really far away and we give them home stuff, I usually say like 5 minutes per walk per week.
Okay.
Make sure they're not coming back super tired, limping more. If they're not, try increasing, see how that goes for a week.
And so you increase the length of the walk by 5 minutes each week. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, on average.
Okay.
If they're really debilitated, probably
Maybe less.
2.5 minutes.
Sure. And I mean, you're talking about a walk on a city sidewalk, right? Do you
Yep.
do hill walking or some of those things? I know I've talked to people that want them to go up hills to improve the rear and down hills to improve the front. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, I love hills. I love curbs too. If you live with a curb, you can have them
Oh.
do like a working walk, go up and down the curb, and get some nice steps in. You can have them do some backward step ups onto a curb, depending what you're trying to rehab.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, hill walking is always my question then becomes, when you don't have a hill and you have a set of stairs, do you not recommend people just throw the ball to the bottom of the stairs and make them bring it back up?
No, no stairs. Everybody should live in a ranch.
Oh my God, that's fabulous. Yeah, it's okay, but so if you don't live in a ranch, what do you do about stairs? How do you feel? I mean, like, how do we work around stairs?
I'm probably a little more liberal with it than some people. Like realistically, if you have a Great Dane and they're used to sleeping upstairs, and you're
You're not
probably going to go
carrying
up and
them up.
down a couple times.
Do you have suggestions in terms of surfaces or traction that make those, height of the stairs? Does that make a difference? What are like the best stairs and the worst stairs, I guess?
Hardwood stairs with space in between are the worst.
Mhm.
Carpet is super helpful, obviously. When we do have people with hardwood stairs, we'll tell them to get a product like paw friction.
Mm,
So at least the dog's got a little bit more grip,
mhm,
to help. If they're really debilitated, help them with a sling, towel sling them,
mhm.
have a hand on them.
Right, right, obviously. Do you deal much? I mean, this is a great question for our for our breeder people. You got to teach a puppy about stairs, right? Like they have to know what stairs are. Otherwise, they get into the world and they're like, "Oh my God, it's stairs!" Ah! What it would be your veterinary recommendation about how to introduce puppies to stairs so that we're not crashing those fragile joints that are growing?
I would just have them on equipment that you can essentially mimic stairs. Like some foam blocks, stack them
Mhm,
up.
mhm,
I like climbs if they're big enough to do that. You can stack some of those with different height legs.
mhm.
Um, so they get the concept.
The very thin concept of stairs.
Without, an entire step going up and down
Mhm,
a flight of stairs all the time.
mhm. Okay, well, that's good to know. I'll have to talk to my puppies about that because they think it's hysterical to run up and down the stairs. So, come on, guys, we're gonna break a leg. Okay. So then you've rehabbed, you're getting back in, like you've had an injury, you've gotten rehabbed, you've done your swimming, right? You're getting back into competition. What are some of those steps?
Um, Kind of same deal as the beginning of rehab, just
Okay.
more fun. So you start to ramp up your exercise a little bit more. we start to tailor what they're doing at home or with us to be more of what they do at home or what they're supposed to be doing for their job. So if you need to do some agility, we'll probably tailor the end of your therapy to look more like agility. So we can make sure they're doing exercises that are appropriate and they're able to do them before we say, hey, you're good to go. If you're still struggling with it, you're probably not released to the wilds yet.
Be free, Willie! So do then, and I don't participate in agility, so forgive me if I sound like an idiot, but do you then, if you've had an injury, do you encourage them to go back and like keep trying for their mock, or do you say, hey, listen, go for your POC or whatever is the one that's for the old dogs?
Depends on the dog, honestly. If you do it right and you rehab them well and you took care of them up front before that and you were doing the conditioning, pretty much all these guys can return to basically normal, depending what was wrong with them. You know, if you're going to say, hey, we're doing the bare minimum, 6 weeks of rehab and we're back, you're probably not going to get to the same level you were at. Your dog's just not going to bounce back the same. So if you're willing to put the time in, I see no problem. I don't limit probably 99% of our patients.
Okay, that's good to know. That if there is an injury, it is not necessarily a career-ending situation.
No, you just have to be willing to deal with it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And how do you see dogs that come back from like a cruciate? Cruciate's the most common. You know, we all know what a cruciate injury is. We've all lived through that. What is your most, like, if you do this one thing, you will not have a cruciate injury? Anything that you can give people on that one? Besides neutering it before it's 2 years old, but
besides avoiding all those, really just staying in shape and not doing weekend warrior type stuff. You know, hey, we didn't do anything all week, but we're going to do fast cat on Saturday and we're not going to warm up.
I think that's great because that's how we all get hurt, right? Okay, well, I think really important information in terms of like the new science in that you're not doing the manual stretches. That's what I was taught a gazillion years ago for the warm up. That, I mean, that's really good information because there's a lot of us still doing that. So if you're saying,
we used to do it as part of rehab and we've essentially stopped. So we're like, well, if we're not going to help.
Okay. Good to know. And do you have any real kind of strong feelings one way or the other on chiropractic or acupuncture or any of the sort of more alternative modalities?
Yeah, I'm certified in both, so I love them.
Good. Good. Cool.
Obviously not appropriate for every dog. Acupuncture's great for these guys. Even if there's not anything wrong with your dog per se. It does a ton of pain relief. It brings circulation to the area. Basically, you're trying to get a physiologic response to an area where something is not quite right. So it's great for pain relief, but it's great for these healthy guys that, you know, hey, get on a maintenance schedule, especially during sports season.
Yeah, well, speaking as someone who has a maintenance schedule at the acupuncturist, yes. I think maintenance, to me, that seems to be more than an acute situation, like a regular and recurring treatment in acupuncture seems like it has done, at least for me personally, the most good.
Yeah, the bigger effects that you're going to get from it take a few weeks to really kick in. At a cellular level. So that's definitely something, if you're willing to commit to it, it's great for a long-term kind of adjunct to what you're doing at home.
Right. Well, it's kept me alive all these years. So there you go. Well, Ashley, I sure appreciate your time and your information. It's very, very useful for all of us that are actively doing all the things with our dogs. So walk, you guys, warm up. Expect to see all y'all outside the ring walking around. All right. Thanks so much, Ashley. You have a great night.